New ways of falling down a mountain with 2 planks of wood strapped to your feet. We'll go off-piste to examine the latest in skiing technology. I'm Martin Stanford. This is Insight. Welcome to Insight. Throwing yourself down a mountain may not appeal to everyone, but if you're planning to do some downhill or sample a bit of slalom, it's no longer just a case of strapping on some skis and hoping you can stop before you reach the bottom. Like so many other sports, skiing has gone high-tech, meaning it's easier to get started and stay safe on the slopes. We sent Insight's Chloe Kalpan up an Alp to find out more.
Here, experts and beginners may enjoy themselves to their heart's content. Hard luck, Mary. Try again.
People have been skiing down mountains for thousands of years. More recently, skiing became an Olympic sport in 1936. And while the principles of downhill skiing or jumping remain pretty much the same, the technology surrounding the sport has sped ahead. Skiing today is undoubtedly easier to learn because of the way skis are made. Most now have what's called a rocker built in to help with turning.
A rocker is when the ski starts to turn up, kind of like a Turkish slipper, and that just helps it turn on its own. If you imagine, it means that instead of having something flat or facing downwards that grips, you've got something that's that shape. So something that shape, if you put it on its edge, it's going to turn.
Top-end skis still have a wooden core, but they're surrounded by other materials to improve performance.
You can see the core's made of wood, which has much better damping properties, and it sort of springs back with the turns. So from turn to turn, you can see as it flexes, it really springs back for you. This one as well, which you see more in men's skis than women's, is you've got a titanium alloy layer in it. Sometimes they come in crisscross shapes like this, sometimes it's a thicker plaque. And what they do is they give you a bit more vibration damping, make it a bit stiffer, and actually make it a bit heavier as well. And a heavy ski is good because it helps it stick to the snow. So if you're doing hard turns over rough snow, your ski's not bouncing around all over the place.
Even the way we learn to ski is evolving. These mats are springing up all over the world, and while you don't get the fresh mountain air, you do get to practice your technique and save a load of cash. Now, Dan here is the centre manager.
Hi.
Dan, why is this such a good way to learn to ski?
Well, you're skiing on the most unforgiving material, so if you can ski on here, then skiing on snow is going to be a piece of cake, because snow is the easiest surface to ski on. So perfect your technique, you've got an instructor right next to you, mirror right in front of you as well, and pretty much one-to-one tuition, so it's absolutely the perfect environment and the safest environment to learn to ski in.
And this is quite hard work. Why is it so important for us to get our ski legs before we go to the slopes?
Well, if you've never skied before or even done some skiing before, you know 4 hours on a mountain is very tough work. So getting your muscles ready, building your endurance, building your strength up before you go is important. You'll prevent your injuries before you go away, and things like this, preparing before you go away is the most important thing to do.
Great, thanks. And of course it's a bit warmer in here.
It's a little bit warmer than normal, yeah.
But once in resort, there are plenty of products to keep us warm, like heated gloves. This pair by Ember can be turned up when the temperature drops down. Many use lithium-ion batteries, which mean they can last all day on a low heat setting. And there's no need to get cold feet anymore, just charge up some heated socks or insoles. But keeping warm isn't cheap, with gloves and socks costing $200 or more. Even what looks like a simple ski jacket is now packed with technology.
The mesh flow venting system is fantastic. What it basically does is it keeps the jacket off of your back by about an inch, which gives you a nice air pocket in there. When the vents are closed under here, when the vents are closed, you get a really warm pocket of air in there and insulates and warms you up really fast.
Most jackets and salopettes now have these reflectors called the Reco system. If someone with Reco reflectors gets lost, they can be tracked relatively easily.
Ski resorts and rescue teams carry Reco detectors. The detector sends out a search signal, which is echoed by Reco reflectors worn by skiers, riders, and other outdoor people.
If the weather turns, so does the light, but goggles are getting better. These Prism by Oakley pair can adapt to changing conditions. Some even have heads-up displays with information like speed and altitude. But if you don't want the information there and then, you can always analyse it after a hard day on the slopes. Skiing is one of the 80 sports tracked by the Sunto Spartan Ultra watch. It can help you navigate during the day and also show you exactly where you've been. And being such an intrepid explorer, why not record the adventures? GoPro's new Hero 5 has advanced video stabilisation, is waterproof to 10 metres and has voice control. And they're so small they can be worn on the chest, helmet or held on a stick. But most electronics with batteries struggle in the extreme cold, so sometimes become useless. But when they are working, some question how safe it is for people to be filming while skiing or snowboarding. Whatever colours you're wearing or equipment you're using, no amount of technology can prepare you for the unexpected. On or off the slopes, anything from a piece of ice to a skier cutting in front of you can throw you off. So the only real way to stay safe is to keep focused and in control. Because a good workman never blames his tools. Chloe Culpen reporting for Insight.
Well, to discuss all this further, I'm joined by Daniel Crawford, a qualified ski instructor who worked on the slopes in Canada and now manages the Chelsea Indoor Ski Centre, which we saw in Chloe's report, and Anne Geramarini, who's been skiing since he was 4, raced in Italy, now works as a resident ski expert at the huge ski retailer Ellis Brigham. Good to have you with us. Sorry it's not colder in the studio here. It would make you feel a bit more at home. The falling over, of course, is part of all this, but there are a lot of ways you can stay ever safer as you enjoy your skiing these days.
Yeah, I mean, take an instructor, get some lessons, be prepared for when you go, I think is one of the main tips.
Yeah.
Get some lessons before you go out on a ski trip with your family or whoever you're going with. I think that's going to be the best way forward for a lot.
But of all the accessories, like, you know, your watch that helps you navigate or the film camera or your little GoPro video camera, what do you think of the interesting new technology that's coming out right now?
I'd say it's the cameras that are most appealing to most people. They want to record what's going on. They want to put it on their social medias, impress their family and their friends, and drones and things like that are all up and coming as well.
Drones on the ski slopes. There's surely got to be some rules about that. What are they doing around the Alpine region with drones? Are they banning them?
Well, not yet. There are not so many probably yet, but definitely it's becoming more and more popular. There are some drones that can follow you automatically without any needing of any command or anything. So that's the new thing going on at the moment, but they come out with something new every year.
And these things have anti-collision technology, do they? So they're not, if 3 or 4 of them are operating on the same run, they're not interfering with each other?
Yeah, some do, but obviously there's been things in the news say that they've been colliding and interfering with flight paths and things like that as well, so you never know.
It's another hazard to think about. You've brought in an example of the very latest ski goggles, because seeing what you're going and seeing what you're doing is quite important, isn't it? As you either learn to or enjoy your skiing. What's particularly remarkable about these?
So apart from new technology lenses that improve the vision on snow condition, we also got a fan-activated system to avoid any kind of moisture or fog building up into your goggles. So what has always been one of the problems with goggles, having fog inside, well, now has been solved with that kind of new system.
For as long as the battery lasts, presumably. How long does it keep your glasses fog-free?
Usually there's no problem for the whole day. You can use it for 2 or 3 days. Everything depends on the weather. If it's really cold, all the battery are affected.
Headgear has changed, hasn't it? People have moved over the last decade or so to a much more safer gear. At one time, it was sort of necessary to ski, no headgear, just a pair of shades, wrap around, reflector lenses, all that bit. But people are using helmets much more now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think everyone's become a lot more safety conscious, so helmet is pretty much a go-to for anyone who goes to the mountain now. I don't think many people will ski without a helmet, especially with
Most ski schools will insist, won't they?
Most ski schools will insist, and we do in our centre that we run in Chelsea, that everyone who takes slopes is advised to wear a helmet before they go on them as well.
Right, and the upside of that is then goggles, of course, fit around the helmet pretty well, and all this kind of camera gear often can clip on
Exactly,
pretty well.
so you can add your accessories to it, you can clip your goggles on, clip your helmets on, and clip your cameras on, and you're well away.
One thing people can suffer from as relative novices is getting lost. I mean, I know there are lots of sort of red runs or the blue poles and everything else, but learning all that, if you're a relatively new skier, and that sense of wonder you get from just seeing this vista of just snow everywhere. So apps on your phone or devices on your wrist, which would you think for finding your way back to base or finding your way down the hill?
They will both work. Obviously, having on your wrist is much more comfortable. You don't want to take your phone off your jacket every time. Again, batteries on the phone are very affected by cold. So if you're in a very cold day, the battery won't last long. So definitely a GPS watch will help. But for a basic starting, an app on the phone is much easier to use. You've got a bigger screen and, well, it's a good start. And
most of the ski areas of the world, is it fair to say, I mean, we're focusing, I suppose, on the Alpine region, which a lot of Europeans go to from all over this part of the world. But in American, the big resorts and Canadian resorts, mobile phone signals are pretty good nowadays. They tend to work, don't they?
Yeah, I think most people, when you go on holiday these days, you can get a mobile phone network wherever you go in whatever region you're in. So most people can use their apps on their phones, all their watches and GPS watches, all that kind of thing can now be used pretty much anywhere that you go to.
And they're recommended for all skiers, really?
Yeah, no reason why not. I mean, everyone wants to track their progress, track how much they're skiing, how many miles they're skiing in a day, all that kind of stuff, and their fitness levels, so no reason why not.
Skiing is never a very cheap option, is it? Because of all the equipment you have to do. Oh, obviously, there's the getting there, there's the tuition you have to pay for, the equipment you have to rent. I mean, you should just tell us, on that pair of goggles, for instance, how much does that cost, roughly speaking?
Roughly £220.
About 220, 200 euros or so, $200. It's another cost to you, isn't it, maybe? Yeah. Which has to add to it. Ski technology has changed over the years as well, hasn't it? That the actual shape of skis have changed from the old ones. We don't use 2 planks of wood, as I said right in the introduction, anymore. But I wasn't aware of the ski where there's a curvature from tip to tail as well. So only the centre is touching the ground. Tell me a bit about those types of skis. Why are they good?
Yeah, so you've got skis are now changing. They've got a camber on them, so they're supposed to flex and bend in a certain way. A ski is supposed to flex and bend in a certain way, so it makes it easier for someone to turn the ski, makes them easier to initiate turns. So when they're on a mountain, it's making everyone's life easier when you are on the snow, basically.
It's not just a matter of the fast ones going even faster.
No, it's about the slower ones making it easier for those just starting out as well, and all the way through kids, all the way through to adults. So different shaped skis have definitely changed, even in the last 10 years.
Okay, but starting young, as you did, probably is the best way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the easiest way. Everything is much easier when you're a little kid. You're not scared of everything or of anything. You can pick up really, really quickly, and you've got time to learn.
Okay, well, we're going to continue our conversation in just a moment or two. This is Insight. Coming up, more people looking for off-piste thrills. So we'll have a look at that, and we'll examine the risk from avalanches.